Hi, Dr. Tim Anstis here again, and in session 4 we'll be having some video demonstrations from Ashley, an experienced physiotherapist, sharing with you some different exercises to help you get in better shape and become stronger, and you can tailor those exercises according to your current levels of fitness. And that's going to be followed by a presentation from Diane, a cancer care coordinator, looking at the benefits of Tai Chi and some adapted Tai Chi exercises to contribute to both getting in better shape, improving balance and improving well-being. And then I'll be sharing with you some exercises around cultivating gratitude, which is an emotion which is somewhat dormant, but we know that there are things you can do to experience more gratitude, and that can also contribute to your well-being over time. So welcome to session 4.
Today I'm here with Alan, who's waiting for his hip replacement surgery, and we're going to work through an exercise session based all around sitting in the chair. So for doing this at home, we would recommend that you try and use something like a dining chair as opposed to a softer sofa, because you may find that you tend to slouch more into the sofa type surface. So posture wise and position wise, we'd recommend that you come forward at the front of the chair. So if you just shuffle forward a little bit for me there, Alan. Try not to bend your knees too far back. So try and keep your hips and your knees at around a 90-degree angle, but that will vary throughout the session with different exercise positions. We'd recommend that you've got some water and perhaps a towel nearby, and if you feel that you do need to rest at some point throughout the session, because if we refer back to the Borg scale that we mentioned in earlier weeks of the course, you want to work at around level 1 to 2 for the warm up and cool down, and up to 3 and 4 for the main session. So if you do need to stop at any point, you can judge that for yourself when you're working through the exercise session. Okay, so the first part is the warm-up. This is going to last around 3 to 5 minutes. So we're going to sit forward, sit up and nice and tall, okay, so not slumping into that chair at any point. And we're going to just start with just some wrist circles. So elbows don't need to be locked out, but not too bent, okay, and wrist circles clockwise, anti-clockwise. It really doesn't matter which direction you go first, because we're going to change it. Feeling okay?
Yes, thank you.
You might feel a little bit of clicking, you might hear a little bit of clicking, especially if you're doing this first thing on the morning. That's very normal. Changing direction. And then we're going to just bend those elbows up and down. So you might find that some of these elbows feel a little bit stiff, or one feels a bit stiffer than the other. Again, just work within the range of movement that you're comfortable in, okay? Lovely. And then we're going to take that to some shoulder rolls. So just resting those hands on the top of the thigh, and then just rolling those shoulders again, forwards, backwards, back to front. It doesn't matter, because we're going to change direction. And you might feel a little bit of crunching, a little bit of muscle switching on in the top part of those shoulders. Again, very normal. Okay there, Alan?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And then changing direction. Lovely. And then relaxing those shoulders, and we're just going to move that neck up to the ceiling and bringing that chin down to chest, nice and slowly. If you tend to get a little bit dizzy with extreme movements with the neck, then just steadily move within the range that you're comfortable. Up and down. Good, and then stop in the middle, and we're going to then rotate our head left and right. And again, nice and steady, no quick sudden movements. Just stretching that neck and the muscles around the neck and the shoulder. Okay, and then we're going to take it to some shoulder flexion. So that's moving our arms up in front. So straighten those elbows out in front for me there, Alan. And then taking those arms up as far as they'll go. And again, if you've got some shoulder problems or a reason that the shoulder doesn't quite stretch as far, just go to the range of movement that you're comfortable within. Up and down. Good, keep that going. And then we're going to take it to abduction. So this is the movement where the shoulders go out to the side. So a little bit like a chicken wing with that, okay? So a little bend in those elbows and taking those arms up, out to the side. All good?
Yes.
Yeah. You might start to feel a little bit warmed up there now. Okay, and the next exercise is as if you're using a bow and arrow. Okay, so both arms are going to go out in front with those elbows nice and straight. Keep one hand with that elbows just straight in front, and you're going to pull back as if you're using that bow and arrow with one hand, but also rotate through that mid back with that as well, and back up in front. So you should feel a bit of a stretch around that rib cage, a little bit of a stretch around that shoulder blade. And again, just working within the range of movement that you're comfortable within. And then change sides. So then keeping the opposite arm extended and rotating around that shoulder blade and round that mid back. Lovely. And that should feel, you should feel your upper body's a bit more warmed up now. So we're going to move down to the lower body and start with some ankle circles. Okay, so for this, just straighten one leg out in front and circle those ankles. Again, clockwise, anti-clockwise, I really don't mind because we're going to change direction in a couple of seconds. And again, might feel a little bit of clicking, very normal, but shouldn't be painful when you're feeling these exercises, okay, and feeling that you're moving through these joints of your body. And then change direction. Feel your leg muscles working a bit there, Alan?
Yes.
And then change legs. So again, nice and straight with that knee if you can, and then rotating through those ankle joints. Good, and change direction. And if you've got the side of your body that you're waiting for the surgery on, you feel that's a little bit weak, you have to work a little bit harder on, you can't hold it for as long, just stop, have a breather, and go back into that exercise. Lovely. And then back to that normal seated position. We're going to go for some heel raises this time. So just raising up onto your tiptoes in sitting, keeping that hip and knee angle at about 90 degrees. And you should feel the muscles in your calves working there as you're raising up. Might get a little bit of muscle burn with that, but again, it shouldn't be painful doing this exercise. Can you feel your muscles working there, Alan?
I can.
Lovely. And then we're going to go for some toe taps. So we're just lifting the toes up off the front of the carpet there. You should feel the muscles at the front of your leg working with this one. And again, shouldn't be painful, but you might feel them burning after a few repetitions with that. Good. And then we're going to finish on a little bit of marching. So just one knee after the other. Keeping that upright posture with that. You can bring your arms in if you like, just to make yourself work a little bit harder, or you can just work with those legs. You should feel that heart rate starting to come up a little bit now, feeling a bit more warmed up. Do another 10 seconds on this exercise. And rest off there. So we're now into the main session of the exercise program. For this part of the session, there are 9 exercises that you're going to perform for 20 seconds on each exercise, and you're going to repeat that circuit 3 times over. So when we get to the end of the first circuit, I'll advise you how long to take for a break, but if you need a little bit longer between those circuits, that's fine. And equally, if you feel like you can only perform 1 or 2 circuits on this day, that's equally okay. Okay, so the first exercise we're going to do for 20 seconds is marching on the spot. So as we mentioned in the warm-up, you want to come forward in that chair so you're not slumped in the back of it, knees and hips at 90 degrees, and we're going to start with just some marching. So one leg up at a time. And Alan, you'll probably feel this exercise in the top of your thighs a little bit. You might find your tummy muscles working a little bit. So if you feel like they're working too hard, let me know. And you can bring those arms in like we did at the warm-up as well. Okay, so you're getting a little bit of upper body and a little bit of lower body work. You don't want to go too quick with this exercise to start with because it is the first part of the first circuit, okay? And then we're going to go into side tapping. So the next exercise, we're tapping one leg out to the side, bring it back to the centre, and then tap the other. Now, if you're waiting for surgery on your hip or your knee, and perhaps like Alan here today, you might find that you can't get quite as far out to the side with one leg, then just work within the range of movement that you're comfortable within. So does that feel okay on that hip?
Yeah, I can feel it pulling on my left hip a little.
Okay. So again, you would want to maybe just reduce that range of movement slightly, okay, and not go out too far to the side. Back to that marching. So one leg up at a time and arms moving at the same time if you want to make it an upper body and a lower body exercise. And that hip feeling okay still with that lifting up in front? Perfect. Lovely, and then we're going to rest those arms off, and we're going to go for toe taps and heel raises. So we're raising the front of our feet and then taking it into a heel raise. So both feet at the same time. Lovely, so you should feel the muscles at the front of your leg working there, Alan, as you lift the front of your toes up, and then the muscles in your calf as you lift up at the back. Do they feel any different left to right, or do they feel okay?
No, it's fine at the moment.
Perfect. So again, not too quick with this, because you'll find that you probably lose your coordination a little bit, okay? So then back to marching. So 20 seconds, back to marching on the spot in sitting. And you might want to pick the speed up a little bit there as you're into that mid part of this first circuit round. But if you want to keep it at a slower pace, that's equally fine. Perfect, and then resting that marching off, we're going to go for shoulder rolls, okay? So you want to be in a position where you can spread your arms out like so, shoulders at 90 degrees, and we're just doing some small circles with both arms. I'm going to go one direction for 10 seconds, and then into the other direction for the remaining 10. Where can you feel that working, Alan?
Shoulders.
Shoulders, yeah.
Top of the shoulders.
Okay to continue? Yeah, warming up and change direction. So to make that a little bit easier, you could bend your elbows, okay, and just do it like so if you feel like you find the elbow extension is a little bit too much, okay, and then just relax those arms and taking it into some shoulder rolls. So forwards, backwards, it really doesn't matter. It's just to try and stretch off and loosen up those shoulders a little bit after that exercise. Perhaps change direction there, Anne, so you're working in the other direction. Lovely, and then relax off, and we're going to go for some shadow boxing. So we're going to start with just punching into the air in front, one arm at a time, fully extending that elbow. Lovely. Feeling okay?
Yes.
Yeah?
I like this one.
Good. And again, you can pick up the speed if you want to go a little bit quicker with that and bring that body work in a little bit as well. Or if you want to just keep it with just those arms extending, that's fine. Lovely. And then back to shoulder recovery. So this is the final exercise in that first circuit, okay? Again, forwards to backwards, backwards to forwards. It really doesn't matter, just to relax off. Does that help to ease those shoulders after a little bit of work?
There's things creaking
Yeah.
that I didn't know I had.
So that's normal. Lovely, and rest off there. So now you can take up to a 30-second break at the end of that first circuit, or if you feel like you're ready to go into that next circuit pretty much straight away, perhaps after a quick drink, then that's fine, okay? So we're going to go into marching, okay? So back for another 20 seconds, back into that marching on the spot. And if you find you're getting tired or certain joints and areas are getting a little bit achy, okay, not too painful, but just feeling like they're working hard and you need a bit more of a rest or you need to change the exercise, it might be worth writing down the exercises in the first circuit so that you can mix and match between each one. Okay, then we're going to go back to side tapping. So again, not too far out on that side of the hip that you feel it might just be stretching a little bit there, Alan, okay? Does that feel a comfortable range of movement for you? Yeah. So you'll feel muscles are working and things might stretch, but again, it doesn't want to be that it's too sore or aggravating to stop you being able to engage in the rest of the session. And then back to marching. So you can bring those arms in on this one, on this second circuit, if you feel you want to make it a little bit harder. And again, to make it a bit harder, you could pick up the speed on that march if you want to. Remember, if you need to stop at any time, take a drink, just catch your breath, feel free to do so. You feeling tired yet? Are you okay?
No, I'll
Good.
survive.
Lovely, and then we're going into toe taps and heel raises again. So front of the feet pulling up and then up onto those tiptoes. So front of the legs and then the calf starting to work. Burning yet in those leg muscles a little bit?
Front and back.
Front and back, yeah. That knows, you know that you're working harder. Lovely, and then back to marching. Bring those arms in, pick up that speed a little bit. And the next exercise after this is going to be those shoulder rolls, so we're going to get those shoulder muscles burning a little bit again.
Okay.
Okay, so arms out nice and straight again, relaxing those legs, elbows extended, Doesn't matter which direction, because after about 10 seconds we're going to change. Remember to make it easier, bend those elbows and just rotate those shoulders. Change direction. Feeling okay?
Yes, thank you.
And then shoulder rolls to recover. So just nice big rolls with those shoulders, feeling those muscles stretch. Maybe a little bit of clicking. Is it doing it the same in the second circuit?
A lot of clicking.
Yeah. And change direction. Perfect. And then next one is the shadow boxing. So again, we're going to go out in front, extending those elbows, punching in a forward direction. And after 10 seconds, we're going to go up to the ceiling, okay? And then up to the ceiling. Does that feel any different to going up in front? Do you feel different muscles working? Feel maybe down the side of your ribs? Yeah.
It's shoulders that
Yeah.
it's affecting.
Perfect. And relax off, and let's take it back to that shoulder recovery. So just nice big rolls. Change direction. And rest off there. So that's the end of the second circuit. So again, up to 30 seconds rest if you need a little bit longer than that, or you want a little bit less time. We're going to roll into our third circuit pretty quickly, but you can take as long as you need between that rest period, okay? Feeling ready, Alan? Third and final circuit, 20 seconds on each one, okay? First exercise, back to marching on the spot. So bring those arms in. By now you should feel that heart rate is really coming up, okay? You might even be breaking a little bit of a sweat. But remember, on the Borg scale, on that rate of exertion, you should be maximum level 4 at this point, okay? Not too short a breath to carry on. You feeling a bit more tired in those legs on this third circuit, Alan?
Marvellous at the
Yeah,
moment.
all good. Perfect. And then we're going to go side tapping. So again, just within the range of movement, you're comfortable, one leg out at a time. I think you'll feel this tomorrow after this session, do you?
If I get out of bed.
Perfect. Now back to marching. Bring those arms in again. Again, you can pick up that speed on this third and final circuit. We've just got to cool down once we get to the end of this circuit. We're going for it there, Alan, aren't we?
Follow me.
And then relax off, and then we're going to go toe taps and heel raises. The front of the feet coming up, and then raising up onto those tiptoes. Did they recover from this in the last circuit? With those leg muscles?
It's fine, I can manage this.
And then back to marching. And we're going into some upper body work again after this one, so we're going to go for those shoulder cuff rolls, okay? And then relaxing those legs, arms out nice and straight, and then just circling those arms, lovely. So you can do big circles with it, but to make those muscles work a little bit harder, just keep it quite small with those circles. And change direction. And then relax and into those shoulder rolls just to recover from that big stretch. And you can go a bit slower if you feel like you need a little bit more muscle stretch on this one. And change direction. Lovely, and then we're going to go into shadow boxing, okay? So forwards for 10 seconds, and then we're going to go up in front. Getting a little bit out of breath yet, Alan?
Oh no.
No? Keep going. So you can do a little bit more of these circuits. If you feel like you want to do a little bit more exercise, you could maybe add a fourth circuit onto this if you find that this is a comfortable level of work for you. Punching up into the air this time. And then back to those shoulder rolls just to recover from that 20 seconds work. And change direction. You'll be pleased to know this is the last exercise in the main circuit.
Well, I'm loving this.
You've worked really hard, well done. Perfect, and rest off there. So this is the cool down part of the session. This will last around 3 to 5 minutes, and the purpose of this session is to try and stretch off the major muscle groups that you'll feel that have worked in the previous part of the main session. So the first exercise is to stretch the hamstring muscles, which are the muscles at the back of the thigh here. So we're going to do one leg at a time and stretch for around 10 to 15 seconds on each side. So what I'd like you to do, Alan, for me is just straighten one leg out in front, pull the toes up towards you, try and keep that knee straight, and we're just going to slide that left hand, in this case, down the front of your left leg. So just go as far as you're comfortable, and you should feel a bit of a stretch at the back of that thigh, yeah?
Yes,
you don't want to go too far so you're feeling it's hurting, but enough so the muscle is stretching there. Is that okay? Comfortable
yes,
enough,
fine.
yeah? And then change legs. So bring that one back up, straighten that leg out, toes up to you. And again, if you can't get too far down, just gauge it by sliding that hand. Is that comfortable?
Yes.
Yeah? You don't want to feel like this is hurting or pulling too much, but enough of a stretch in the muscle group at the back of the thigh. The next exercise is to stretch the muscles in the inner part of the thigh. So we'll go back to the left leg here, Alan. So step that out to the side for me, just to where you're comfortable. And then pop the left hand on the top of your left knee. And you're going to bend over with this right hand and lean towards that left knee. Does that feel okay?
Fine.
Yeah. So you might feel a little bit of a stretch on that inner thigh where we want it, but equally a bit of a stretch at the top of that armpit on the opposite side of the body. And then change legs. Let's bring that back together. Knee nice and straight, and then stretching over. And again, you might find one side you can get a little bit further than the other. That's perfectly normal, but just go to the point where you're feeling the muscle stretch and it's not too painful. Okay, and then back into seating for me. Pop your hands across your chest for me, and we're going to stretch around your thoracic spine. So that's the mid part of your back that works around your rib cage. So hands across the front of your chest. We're going to rotate to the left there first, Alan. And just to the point where you feel you can't go any further without fully rotating within that chair. Okay, so a bit of a stretch down this side of your body. Does that feel comfortable there, Alan?
Yes.
Not overstretching too much?
I can't come back.
No, you're stuck. And then change sides. So with that, you want to keep your hips, knees and feet facing forward. So as I say, it's really around that mid-back and that torso area that you're feeling that stretch. And then we're going to stretch those shoulders, so back to the middle. Doesn't matter which one you do because you're going to do them both, but one arm straight across your chest, keeping that elbow nice and extended. And then you're going to bring the other hand at the front of your elbow, okay? Lovely. And then just pull that arm that straight across your body a little bit. You should feel a stretch around the back of the shoulder. Is that where you're feeling that stretch there, Alan?
I do,
Yeah?
yes.
And then change arms. So that'll help after those shoulder roll exercises that we did where your arms are extended and you feel your shoulder muscles burning a little bit. And rest off there. And we're going to finish off with some neck stretches. So we're just going to gently look up to the ceiling, to the range of movement you're comfortable with, and gently back down with that chin to chest there, Alan. So you might get a little bit of clicking, but you don't want to be going quick with this. So it's just nice and slow and steady, feeling the muscles stretch when you're at the top and also when you're at the bottom. You can hold the end point of that for a little bit if you like, 2 or 3 seconds, and rest off there. Today I'm here with Alan, who's waiting for a hip replacement operation, and we're going to work through an exercise session based around the chair with a combination of exercises both in sitting and into standing. So we're going to start with a warm-up which will last around 3 to 5 minutes, and we would recommend that you've got a table nearby or a surface nearby that you can pop a towel or a drink of water to access at any point throughout the session. So we're going to go into the warm-up, and the first exercise we're going to start with is just sitting in the chair. We'd recommend you come forward a little bit so you're not adopting a slump posture in the chair, sitting up nice and tall. And we're going to start with just some shoulder rolls. So front to back, back to front, I really don't mind because we're going to change direction. So feeling a bit of clicking in that neck perhaps. You're feeling those muscles in the top of the neck and shoulders there, Alan, just working.
Certainly are.
And a bit of crunching's normal, a little bit of clicking, but these exercises shouldn't be painful at any point, and you may need to stop if they become painful. And then change direction again for me, lovely. And then we're going to relax those shoulders and just get the neck moving a little bit. So we're going to go looking up to the ceiling and looking down to the floor. Very slow with these movements, feeling a little bit of a stretch. And if you do feel you start to get dizzy and you're struggling to get to those end points, just work within a very small range of movement at that neck, just to get it moving comfortably. And then coming back to the middle for me there, Alan, we're going to rotate. So looking over the left shoulder, looking over the right shoulder. And again, nice and steady, so you shouldn't be going dizzy. If you're doing this too quick with a quick fire movement, slow it right down. And then bring that head back to the centre. We're going to get those shoulders moving now. So taking those arms up in front to do what's called shoulder flexion. So moving up in front of your body. And you can pick that pace up a little bit if you want to just make that a bit more of a warm-up exercise. Lovely. So again, you might feel a bit of crunching. Your shoulders might feel a little bit stiff if you're doing this first thing on the morning. If for whatever reason you can't get all the way up, just work within your range of movement that you're comfortable within. And then relax those arms. We're then going to bend those elbows and just take those shoulders out to the side. So a little bit of a chicken wing type action. Up and down. And again, you can make that a little bit quicker if you want to get those shoulders working a little bit harder. Does that feel okay there, Alan?
Yes,
yeah?
fine. Thank
Perfect. Now we're going to go as if you're drawing a bow and arrow, okay? So we're going to place both arms out in front, keep one arm nice and extended, and you're going to pull back, and as you pull back and bend that elbow, we're rotating around through that mid-back, okay? So you should feel muscles around the rib cage, perhaps around the shoulder blade, just stretching a little bit as you get going. And again, if you can't get all the way around, just go to where you're comfortable, but make sure some part of your body's moving just to get your body ready for exercise. And then change sides, so keep the other hand nice and still and drawing back and rotating around. And relax. We're then going to go for some leg movements, okay? So one leg at a time. We're going to start with just from a bent knee into a straight knee. So you're just kicking that leg straight out in front. I'm going to do that 10 times on this left leg first. And again, if for whatever reason you struggle to lift that leg as such, just tap it out in front, okay? So if you struggle to make the full lift, just go for a toe tap. Does that feel okay? I'm not pulling on the hips or...
No, it's fine.
No, perfect. Couple more for me. And relax and change legs. So again, 10 on the other side. To make this a little bit harder, if you feel like that's a very easy exercise, you could just keep that leg straight and hover it above the floor so that you're making those thigh muscles at the front of the thigh work a little bit harder. Again, as long as you're moving, that's what's important. Might feel that heart rate going up a little bit as we're warming up. Do you feel like you're getting a little bit of exercise and work in there? Perfect. Couple more. And relax. And then I'm going to go for some heel raises to get in the calf muscles working. So hips and knees at 90 degrees. I'm just raising up on those tiptoes. You can make these quick fire if you like, if you want to work a little bit harder, a little bit faster, or you can go a bit slower. You go at your own pace. And feel those muscles in the back of the leg coming in as you're raising up.
Enormous.
Yeah. Growing by the second. Perfect. You might feel a little bit of burn even in the warm-up, okay, but go at your own pace. If you need to stop, shake those legs off and go back into it, that's absolutely fine. Then we're going to finish the warm-up on a bit of marching, okay? So we're going to get the legs going on their own just to start with, and then you can bring those arms in, as Alan's doing there, and you can pick up the speed just to bring that heart rate up a little bit more as well. And again, if you get out of breath or you need to stop, you need to grab a drink before the end of this warm-up blast, that's absolutely fine. Another 10 seconds. And rest off there. So grab yourselves a drink and then we're going to work into the main part of the exercise session next. So So this is the main part of the exercise session, combining exercises both in sitting and in standing, but all based around the chair. So you should feel warmed up after that warm-up session that we've just performed. What we're going to do for this main session is perform 10 repetitions on each side of the body, whether it's upper or lower body. And there may be some exercises where you're doing double leg or double arm, but I'll guide you through that. So it's not necessarily for time in each exercise, it's more counting the repetitions. That'll allow you to be able to perform up to 10, or if you only manage 3 to 5 to 7 repetitions and you need to stop, you can gauge at what level you want to work at through this session, okay? There'll be some ideas about how to regress and how to progress each exercise, so we'll guide you through that with each one. So the first exercise we're going to start with is called a straight leg raise, and we're going to go for 10 repetitions on the left leg and then 10 repetitions on the right leg. So Alan, what we're going to start with is just straightening that leg out in front on that left side, and we're going to lift it up to about nice and flush with that thigh and then bring it back down. So we're going to go 10. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. If that feels uncomfortable, bend the knee and just kick the leg out straight. Is that 7? 8, 9 and 10. Then changing that to the right leg, so straighten that leg out in front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. You should feel that muscle group at the top of your thigh working a little bit hard there. We're then going to go for elbow to knee, so a little bit of a coordination exercise here. So just as a demonstration, we're bringing that elbow into the inside of that knee, okay? So if you feel like you just want to do a bit of marching, that's fine, but bringing in that upper and lower body. So we're going to go for 10 repetitions, okay, Alan? So it doesn't matter which side you're going for first, but we're going to start with number 1, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take that just to marching on the spot if you feel like that's uncomfortable doing both, okay? Keep that going. If you feel it's pulling on your back or pulling on your hips too much, again, like I say, just take it to a little bit of marching. That may be easier. 1 more and rest off. We're then going to go into seated, stepping out to the side, okay? So this is getting the hip muscles to work a little bit. So we're going to go left leg first. We're going to go 10 repetitions. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, and rest off. If you need a breather, you can do, but we're going to go straight for that right leg. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, we're then going to go for sitting to stand. So you may find some of this a little bit challenging, and if you need to regress it to the other chair-based exercise program, you can do. But we're going to try and aim for 10 sit to stands from the chair unsupported. So try not to push up from the chair with it. Try and keep the hands either across your chest, front of your knee, or up in front of you. Okay, so ready, Alan? I'm going to go sit to stand for 10 repetitions. So on 3, 2, 1, up we go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, feeling okay? Yeah.
Fine.
5, 6,
8,
7, 8, 9 and 10. We're going to stay standing on this 10th repetition there, Alan, okay? And we're going to change our chair position here just so you can see some of the exercises, but if you've got plenty of space around you, you might not need to change the position of your chair. So what we're going to go for next is 10 double leg heel raises. So standing to support, we're going to raise up onto our tiptoes for 10 repetitions. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. We're then going to go for hip extensions. That means taking that leg out behind straight, but not bending your knee. So we'll go left leg first there, Alan, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Rest off, shake the leg if you need to, and then go into the right leg. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Feeling okay?
Yes,
and those
thank
bum
you.
muscles work a little bit, yeah?
Just one of them.
On the right leg, I hope.
Are you counting?
You may find the other one going 7, 9, and 10. And then we're going to go for hip abduction. So this is taking the leg out to the side. So we're going to start with the left leg, okay? So keep the knee straight. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And rest. And then to the right leg. And you can take a breather between each of these if you need to. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Next exercise is some squats. So again, light support onto the chair. And we're just bending through those knees as if you're sitting down onto the chair. So don't rock forward, bringing your heels up. Sitting back onto those heels.
4,
5, you keep them right. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Final exercise, 10 repetitions of a hamstring kick. So hamstring muscles in the back of your thigh. So left leg first. You just bend in that knee up behind you. Okay, so it's different to that hip extension. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And rest off. Right leg, final exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Rest off there. So this is the cool down part of the session now, involving stretches throughout the body. We're going to do this in sitting. So again, just make sure you sat forward on the chair, not perched on the edge, but enough so that you're not adopting the position to the back of the chair. We're going to start with a hamstring stretch. So this is the group of muscles in the back of your thigh. We're going to do around 10 to 15 seconds of stretch on each leg. So for the hamstring stretch, you're going to place one leg out in front. If we do the left one first there, Alan, relax that foot onto the floor. Try and keep that knee straight. Pull the front of your toes up towards you, and then just slide the hand down of that left leg all the way down the front to where you feel that there's a stretch in the back of your thigh. It shouldn't be painful, but just feeling that the muscle group's being stretched a little bit on the hold. So around 10 to 15 seconds. And then change legs. Again, leg out nice and straight, toes up towards you, and sliding now this right hand down the front of that right leg. And just a comfortable stretch on the back of that thigh. And rest off. We're then going to stretch your adductors, which are the muscles on the inner part of your thigh. So this time with the left leg first, Alan, we're going to take that leg out to the side as much as you're comfortable, okay, so not overstretching on that hip. Then with the left hand placed on the front of your knee, you're then going to stretch with your right arm over the top of your body down towards that left leg. So you'll feel a little bit of a stretch on the inner thigh, depending on how far apart you can take your legs. And then also a little bit down on the armpit and down through the shoulder blade on the opposite side of your body. You feel that stretch there around on both areas, yeah? And then change sides. So again, get comfortable, leg out to the side, knee straight, right hand on the front of the right knee, and then stretching over with that left. Just to where you're comfortable, so not overstretching so that areas of your body are painful in this position. And then rest off. We're going to now stretch around that mid-back, okay, around that rib cage, what's called your thoracic spine. Just popping your hands across your chest for me there, Alan. Okay, hips, knees and feet facing forwards. And then we're just going to rotate over to the left side. So you don't want to go too far so you're feeling that your whole body wants to twist around with you. It's just around that torso. You can feel that stretch around that mid-back and torso there, Alan, in the right spot?
Yes. I don't want to.
You're near the end now. We're near the end of the session. And then change sides, so over to the right. And one side may feel a little bit tighter, a little bit stiffer, that's perfectly normal. Might feel a little bit more restricted going in one direction. And rest off. I'm going to stretch those shoulders. So one arm straight across the body, across your chest, okay? Keep that elbow straight and then cross over at that elbow joint with the other arm. Should feel a stretch at the back of that shoulder, stretching out that shoulder capsule. You feel that on that right side there, Alan?
Yes,
yeah?
thank you.
It's really important with your stretches that you're feeling it in the right place, because otherwise you're not going to get much out of that stretching exercise at the end of your cool down. And then change arms. So that one to me, that's it. And then crossing at that elbow and feeling that stretch around the back of the shoulder. And then relax off. And we're going to just stretch our whole body now, so placing your hands on the top of your thigh, front of the knees, and we're just going to slide down all the way to the toes if you can get there. If you can't, just go to where you're comfortable, feel that stretch through that back, and then come all the way up. And stretch out the front of that chest, squeeze those shoulder blades together. Nice deep breath in, and out to finish. Hello, my name's Ashley Walker and I'm a specialist physiotherapist. For this exercise session, I would recommend that you've got a drink nearby that you can access throughout the session, a towel at hand, and you're working in a space that's free of clutter or reducing any trip or fall hazards. So this is the warm-up session of the Pilates and core exercise session. To start with, we want to be standing onto the mat in around the centre, or you might just be in your free space in your floor area at home. Start with your feet around shoulder width apart, ideally having your shoes on, but if you're used to Pilates exercise sessions and you prefer to do this with your shoes off and you're safe to do so, that's okay. So feet around shoulder width apart, just start by pulling those toes up a little bit and then rocking back onto the heels, lifting those toes up. And then you want to stop somewhere in the middle of that, okay? So that's going to be the centre of that foot placement. Try and then to relax your shoulders, looking up tall, so not into too much extension at that neck, but equally not looking too far down, somewhere in the middle, finding that balance between those feet. And we're just going to start to rock our body weight forwards and backwards. So notice the difference here is that my heels and toes aren't lifting, okay? I'm just transferring that weight forwards and backwards through my feet. And then I'm going to find that middle point within my foot, okay? And hold it there. The first exercise we're going to then move into is pelvic tilting, okay? So we're going to start to think about arching through that lower back and tilting that pelvis. So make sure that it's not that you're bending your knees or you're arching too far back through your lower back. Knees should be quite soft with this, okay? Little arch through that lower back and tucking that tailbone under. So notice there's not too much movement from my ribs up over, okay? From the bottom level of my ribs and my hips and pelvis is where that rotation is happening from. Back and forward. So a little bit of movement in those knees, but like I say, nothing excessive with that, okay? We're then gonna go into some whole body flexion, okay? So just in standing, soften those knees, weight in the middle of those feet. We're gonna look down to the floor, bring that neck down, okay? Chin to chest. Start to bring our hands down the front of our legs, bend through those knees, through those hips, as far as you can get down to, okay? Hands flat, hold that stretch a little bit, and then we're going to peel back up into standing, nice and slow and controlled. All the way up into that extension, so you don't want to kind of stop somewhere in the middle here. All the way up, chin to chest again, round on those shoulders, slight bend in those knees to begin with, and then they'll bend a little bit further as those hands get down to the floor. Feel that stretch, 2 or 3 seconds, and then peel back up. So it doesn't want to be a quick fire movement with this. This Pilates and core session is very much about slow, controlled movements. So we're going to do that 2 more times. Slowly peeling down, hands flat. Feel that stretch. and come up. Final exercise in this position, okay? So chin to chest, slowly down, hands flat, final stretch, that whole body, and coming up. So next we're going to come into that normal standing position as we've talked about, soft on those knees, weight in the middle of the feet, and pop the hands across the chest. And we're going to just rotate through that upper body, okay? So my hips, knees and feet are facing forward, but my mid-back and up over is rotating left and right. Your head can lead some of that movement, but don't excessively rotate that neck around. Okay, and rest in the middle. And then we're going to tip down to one side and to the other. It doesn't matter whether you go left and right first. Alternate each time. So again, it's not a quick fire movement. It's nice and slow and controlled. What's really important through these exercises is focusing on that breathing, okay? So when we're coming to do some of the main exercise sessions, try not to hold your breath. Try not to find that you're getting too short of breath. Try and focus on some deep breathing exercises in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I'll guide you through that when we're doing each of those exercises in the main session. The first position that I want you to start in for this main part of the Pilates and core session is in standing. And you remember from the warm-up final exercise was that whole body flexion. So we're going to start with that exercise just now. Bring that chin to chest, bring those shoulders forward, soft at those knees, start to bend, letting those hands reach the floor, but rather than holding that stretch, we're going to take it down into the position of 4-point kneeling, so onto all fours. If you feel that you need a little bit of support under the knees, that could be in the form of a towel or a pillow. If you aren't using a soft exercise mat, for example, you want to try and make sure that your hands are directly under your shoulders and your knees are directly under your hips. Now, the first exercise that we're going to do here is called the bird dog. So the easier version of the exercise is to simply take one hand and one foot out and just tap them to the floor, like so. But if you find that that's easy for you, you may already engage in some Pilates sessions somewhere, you might find that you want to progress that to holding that arm and leg lift off the floor like so. So we're going to do 30 seconds work with 10 seconds rest in between each exercise. So remember, either a regression of toe and hand tapping or full arm and leg lift. Try and keep that tummy muscle as stable as it can be, so not too much wobbling around in the middle. Equally, you don't want to arch too much through that lower back, so try and keep that core muscle set engaged throughout that exercise. Okay. Following the bird dog, we're going to go into the thoracic rotation. So your thoracic spine is the bit of your spine that articulates around that rib area, okay? So knees underneath your hips again. Keep one hand stable. Bring one hand off the mat and bring it underneath your body as if you reach into the opposite pocket, okay? Feel that stretch a little bit around that rib cage, maybe a little bit around that shoulder blade, and change sides. So nothing happening at the hips or the knees at the moment, okay? Feet are stable. Hold that stretch for a couple of seconds and switch. Okay, and the next exercise we're going to perform in sitting. So taking it with your legs crossed if you can, but if that's an uncomfortable position for you, you may want to take it so that your legs are out straight. It's entirely what works for you. The first exercise we're going to do, thinking about the thoracic spine we've just mentioned, is a little bit of a thoracic twist. So we're going to look over one side. It doesn't matter whether you go left or right here. Place one hand out behind, place the other on the top of your knee, and just rotate your body around to the side, like so. Should feel a bit of a stretch through that thoracic spine around that rib cage, bottom of that shoulder blade area. Keeping that legs cross position, or like I say, legs out in front, okay? And then we're going to change sides. So one hand on the top of the knee, one hand out behind, and really rotating round with that upper body. And change sides. So we're doing 30 seconds of work, but you can hold that stretch for as long as you feel comfortable with, okay? The next exercise is a side bend. So again, with legs crossed or out in front, whatever works for you. Place one hand by the side of you onto the mat or the floor area and lean right over with the other hand so you feel a stretch down through the armpit, through the axilla, and then down that side of the ribs again. So a lot of that thoracic spine and thoracic area we're stretching in these exercises. If you find that your wrist's a bit uncomfortable, you could always make a fist, so that's a little bit easier for you to hold. And then we're going to change sides. So hand placed flat and then stretching over to one side. Okay. We're then going to go into a whole flexion through that spine. So what we mean by that is bending forward to get from the neck to the base of the spine to move into the forward flex position. Okay, so to do so, you might start with your hands just on your knees if that's where you're comfortable. And you're going to walk those hands out in front, bring that chin to your chest so you get a stretch on your neck. And you're going to bring those hands out in front as far as you're comfortable, feeling a stretch from the base of your head down to the tip of your spine. Hold that for about 10 seconds. So within the 30-second period of work here, you'll get about 3 stretches in. And then once you've done that 10-second stretch, come back up, extend through that spine, squeeze those shoulder blades together, and then take it back down again into that flexion. The next exercise is a little bit of an early sit back, so a little bit of an abdominal crunch, but we're not getting you to do a full sit up in this exercise here. So if you can, you have your heels as your point of contact, but if you find that that's too advanced for you or making you work too hard, bend your knees a little bit more and have your feet flat. Okay, so I'm going to choose to have my heels as the point of contact. Pop the hands at the top of the knees, and then you're going to start to slowly lean back and sit back onto your tailbone as you're moving your hands down the top of your thigh. Now you should stop at the point where you feel that your abdominals are engaging and you might get a little bit of shaking. Try not to bring that chin to your chest. Try to keep that chin just at a neutral position. So you should feel a little bit more abdominal work happening there. Hold it for about 5 seconds and sit forwards again. And then back into that exercise. So slowly sitting back onto that tailbone. Feel those abdominals engage. Look up with that chin. And then pull forwards. Remembering that breathing control, okay, so you're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, and out is on the point of your most exertion, so the most work that you're doing, okay? And then we're going to change position, so we're going to come down into lying onto our backs, and just change it around here so you can see from a better position for technique. So again, you can pop a towel or a pillow underneath your head and neck if you feel a little bit more supported here. And this exercise is called the bridge. So to begin with, your feet want to be placed flat onto the mat, okay? But you can make it harder, as we've just been talking about, by having your heels as your point of contact. Pop your hands by your side for a little bit of support. And then we're going to raise up with our hips. So you don't want to arch too much through your lower back. The extension movement is happening through our hips here. By having your heels as your point of contact, you're making your hamstring muscles in the back of your thigh work a little bit harder. But if you find that that's too advanced, keep those feet flat and put a little bit more of a bend in that knee to make that bridge exercise a little bit easier. Okay. And the final exercise in this position is the dead bug. So for this exercise, you're going to remain lying flat, head and neck supported if you wish. Bring your hips and your knees up to 90 degrees here, and then bring your shoulders up to a 90-degree angle like so. Now to start with, just make sure you're not arching too much through that lower back and you're not too curled under with that tailbone like so. Somewhere in the middle of that, where you're feeling your stomach muscles work, we're going to lower one arm at a time as the first part of this exercise. So slow and controlled, doesn't want to be a quick fire movement like so. And if you find that that's really quite easy, just using the arm, you can then bring in the opposite leg. Now you can just tap if that feels comfortable for you. You feel you're working at the right level. But if you feel like that's also too easy, you can then progress it to taking that arm and leg straight out in front and even hover it above the mat to work a little bit harder. And that then concludes the final exercise in the main session of the Pilates and core exercise program. So this is the cool down part of the Pilates and core exercise session. We're going to start with 2 stretches on the mat or on the floor space that you've been using in the main part of the session today. So to begin with, I just want you to pop your legs out straight in front of you. You can part your legs as far as you feel comfortable, but if you have a hip problem, you might find that you want to keep them quite close together. That's absolutely fine. So what we're going to do here is just keep your toes pointing up towards you. Pop the hand, we'll start with left or right, and again, it doesn't matter which one you do first, but slide that hand down the front of that lower leg, aiming to touch the tip of your toes, okay, or the top of your trainer there. And you're going to hold that stretch. If you can pull your toes up towards you slightly as you're leaning forward, and you'll feel then a stretch down the back of the leg, into the calf, a little bit into the hamstring, maybe a bit on the inner thigh. And we're going to change legs. So really important that you're keeping that knee straight, so you're not doing this exercise with a bend in your knee, okay? Nice and relaxed on that knee, toes up towards you, little pull if you can tolerate it, and should feel a nice stretch down the back of the leg. And we're going to go back to the left leg again this time, but slightly different stretch. So we're going to bring the left arm down the front of the left leg, but with the right arm now, I'm going to bring that over the top of my body. So I'm still trying to reach down to the top of my trainer, but what I'm trying to do here is also get a stretch on the ribs at the opposite side of the body. And change sides. So reaching to the top of that trainer, keep that knee straight, and then stretch across, feeling that stretch down by the shoulder blade and down by the rib cage of the opposite side. Okay, final one in this position is that we're just going to walk those fingertips down through the center of our legs, just to feel a stretch through that whole spine. Bring that chin to chest, hold that for a couple of seconds, and then walk those fingertips back up. And to finish, we're going to come up into standing. Okay, we're going to stretch those legs out a little bit more in standing. So one leg out in front, pull the toes up towards you, slide one hand down the front of the leg that you're stretching, and then reach for the tips of those toes. If you can't get anywhere near, don't worry, but make sure you're not doing this exercise with a bend in the knee. Feeling a stretch down the back of the leg with this one. And change sides. Same again, don't bend that knee, pull your toes up, feeling a stretch down the back of the leg. And rest. And final exercise, just into standing, and then you're going to stretch all the way up to the ceiling, so feel a nice extension through that back as you watch back a little bit through the lower part of your spine, and then bring those arms down, bring that chin to your chest, and then bend all the way forward, just a whole body stretch down. And you can rest off there. And that concludes the exercise session for Pilates and core. So we're going to go into the warm-up part of this intermediate exercise session. For this, as I say, you want to make sure there's plenty of space around you. You may want to have a chair nearby if you want to sit down and work through some of the exercises if you need to. So the first exercise we're going to start with is getting your neck to move, okay? So we're going to look up to the ceiling, nice and slow, and then bring it chin to chest to look down. If you find at any point you're starting to get a little bit dizzy or lightheaded, stop the exercise. As I say, perhaps sit down. And you can always leave this one out if you need to. So a couple more up to the ceiling and chin to chest. And then back to the middle, and then looking over one shoulder and to the other side. Again, slow and steady. It doesn't want to be a quick fire movement. If you start getting dizzy, stop. Back to the centre, we're then going to go for some shoulder rolls. So it doesn't matter which direction you're going in, whether you're going back to front, front to back. We're going to change direction in about 10 seconds time. Might hear a little bit of crunching in the shoulder muscles just at the top. Perfectly normal, but it shouldn't be painful doing any of these exercises. So again, you might need to stop the exercise if you're experiencing more pain in the neck or the shoulder. And change direction. And rest off. We're then going to go for a little bit of shadow boxing. So you can start nice and slow with this. Notice that I'm quite soft around the centre of my body here, allowing a little bit of twist, but it's not a quick twist out to the side. So you're still facing forward with that exercise. Shoulders should be coming out at about 90 degrees as you're coming forward, so you're not reaching up to the ceiling. And you can pick the pace up on this a little bit as well if you want to start to work a little bit harder. And then we're going to take that to some bicep curls, so relaxing those shoulders, bending those elbows up and down. No weights for this exercise, it's just to get the heart rate going. We'll bring in some weights in the main part of the session. And rest off there. We're then going to take that to some ankle circles. So again, if you want to use that chair for reference, if you need a little bit of balance, you can do, but I haven't got one nearby me just now. So we're just going to work ankle circles, standing on one leg, supported if you need to. Clockwise, anti-clockwise, I don't mind, because we're going to change direction just there. Again, may experience a little bit of clicking. Perfectly normal, but shouldn't be painful. And change legs. And then change direction. You can mix it up if you prefer to just change direction regularly, or stick with it for about 10 seconds in each direction. Then going to take that to some heel raises. So again, you can stand supported onto a chair if you need to, or a surface nearby, but just raising up onto those tiptoes. So you should feel the calf muscle at the bottom part of the lower leg starting to switch on a little bit now. Might feel a little bit of burning just as the muscle's starting to work, so if you need to stop and rest, do so. Maybe take it back to ankle circles if you wish. Next exercise is a little bit of a side step, so starting with feet around shoulder width apart, stepping out to the side and a little bend in the knees. Out to the side, a little bend in the knees. Hands wherever you're comfortable. If it's across your chest, hanging by your side. I prefer in this position, but it's up to you. Bend down as far as you're comfortable, so it's not a very deep squat with that, it's just a side step and a little bend. And rest off. And final exercise is a little bit of marching on the spot. So swing those arms, bring those knees up. And again, you can pick up that pace. 20 seconds and then we'll finish off that warm up. Bend those arms a little bit if you want to. If you want to pick that pace up into a light jog, you can. And rest off there. So we're now moving into the main part of this exercise session at the intermediate level. For this session today, I'm going to demonstrate 6 exercises, and I'd like you to work at each exercise for 30 seconds. I would recommend that at an intermediate level, you would have 15 seconds rest after you've performed the 30 seconds of exercise. However, if you feel that you could work a little bit harder, you could try and progress up to 45 seconds work at each exercise and have a shorter rest period. So the first exercise we're going to start with is a squat. So feet around shoulder width apart, hands wherever you're comfortable. I prefer mine across my chest. And we're going to go in for the first 30 seconds work at a squat. So double leg, no weight, okay? Off we go. and rest off there. So I'll do a little bit of a shorter rest period, but you might now want to rest for 15 seconds. And the next exercise is a half side step, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do is step out to the side and do a little squat. Step out to the other side and a little squat. Okay, so I'm going to get going now for 30 seconds, but if you need a little bit longer to rest, that's fine. Last few seconds, and rest off there. Another 15 seconds rest for you, okay? The next exercise is a press up. So for this exercise, you can either do it on a wall if you prefer to be standing, or I'm going to demonstrate it kneeling down using a chair. So just as shown here. You may want to place the support underneath your knees if you need to, okay? We're going to go for 30 seconds at a press up, hands around shoulder width apart, feet off the ground if you can, and off we go. And rest off there. Coming up into standing, I'm going to use some water bottles as my weight today. You might want to use some hand weights, some light dumbbells. And the next exercise is a front raise. So elbows straight, raising those arms up in front like shown. 30 seconds to go. Last few seconds at this exercise, and then rest off. Give those arms a little bit of a shake if you like, some shoulder rolls just to relax those muscles a little bit. The next exercise is a lateral raise. So we're going to pick the weights back up into each hand, and we're going to go for a lateral raise out to the side. 30 seconds, off we go, but you might still be in your rest period, keeping track of your own time. Start to feel those shoulders starting to burn probably a little bit there, last 4 seconds. And rest off. Popping those weights down. The final exercise, the 6th one, is a step out to the side with a little bit of a leg kick behind. So let me demonstrate that for you as you're resting. Step out and kick. Step out and kick with the opposite leg. 30 seconds, off we go. Last few seconds, and rest off there. That's the final exercise in the session for the main part today. So we're now moving into the cool down part of the intermediate exercise session today, trying to stretch off those muscle groups that we've been working through that main session. So we're going to go back to doing some neck stretches to begin with, like we did within the main part of the warm-up, okay? So we're going to come up to the ceiling, hold that for about 3 seconds this time, slowly chin to chest, and feel the back of the neck and the top of the shoulder just stretch a little bit with that exercise. And then nice and slowly back up. Working on that breathing as we're working through that cool down part today. So breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Back to the middle and then rotating the head to one side. Feel that stretch on the opposite side to that direction you're stretching. And then change sides. About 3-second hold and switch direction. Back to the middle, we're going to stretch out the shoulders now. It doesn't matter which one you start with because we're going to do both. So for me, left arm across the chest, bring the right arm just across at the elbow and gently support this left arm, this straight arm, to feel a stretch in the back of the shoulder. And hold that for about 10 to 15 seconds. And change direction. So again, nice and straight across the body, support at the elbow, and feel that stretch at the back of the shoulder of the straight arm. And relax that one off. We're then going to go to the leg stretches now. So if you want to use that chair or wall space nearby, you can do, or if you can just freestand, we're bringing one foot up behind, up towards your bottom, feeling the stretch in the front of the thigh. And again, about 10 seconds hold, feeling the muscle stretch. And change legs. And then we're going to take it to a hamstring stretch. So this is the muscle in the back of the thigh here. So step one leg out in front of the other, pull the toes up towards you, and then gently just bend in the middle, reaching down to your toes. If you can get all the way down, hold that stretch. If you just need to slightly come down to the level of your knee, you can do. Okay, so you just see in that position, knee nice and straight, toes up. Feeling that stretch in the back of the thigh mainly. But you might feel a little bit in the calf. And change sides. Then we're going to go for a calf stretch. So this time it's one leg out behind, keeping the heel down, so not letting that heel lift up. Keep both feet flat and lunge forward. So the leg that you're stretching is the leg out behind. You may have seen this in a few of the other cool downs in other exercise sessions. You can use a wall if you wish to have in front of you to support, or just freestand. And then change legs. So into that split stance, heels down, lunging forward, stretching the leg out behind. And relax. Final exercise, hands across your chest for me, keeping your hips, knees and feet facing forward, and we're just going to rotate that upper body around. You can make your head turn in the same direction if you wish, and then change sides. And rest off there. Today I'm going to demonstrate some exercises using a gym ball. It may be that this is something that you've used in previous gym sessions or classes and are confident with, but it may be a piece of equipment that you are not familiar with. And if you don't have the confidence in performing or engaging in an exercise session using one, it's advised that you would choose another intermediate exercise session to engage in. In addition to the ball, it's recommended for this session that you have a mat or a free area of floor space at home that's free of clutter to reduce any trip or fall hazards. And it's also recommended that you've got some water at hand to access for refreshment breaks throughout, and also a towel nearby should you need it. Okay, so we're going to go into the first exercise of the warm-up with a gym ball. You want to stand in around the middle of the mat or in your free space floor area. We're going to bring that ball up in front, keep those shoulders out at about 90 degrees of flexion in front, elbows straight, and we're going to start marching, bringing those knees nice and high, one at a time, trying to keep the ball out in front. So just simple marching. You can do this exercise with or without the gym ball, okay? So if you've got a shoulder problem, that means you can't sustain the weight of the ball. Feel free to leave the ball out. It's not about speed so much at this point, it's just about bringing those knees up nice and high. Next warm-up exercise we're going to go into is some squats. So you're going to take those feet around shoulder width apart, keep the ball out in front, and squat down, bending through the knees, bending through the hips. Should feel a little bit of muscle working now in those legs. We're going to then go into some heel raises. So keeping those feet a little bit further apart, but not as far as with the squats. Raising up onto those tiptoes. Feel a little bit of burn in those calf muscles. Okay, final exercise is rotating through our mid-back, feet around shoulder width apart, ball out in front, rotating around with our upper body. So keep those hips facing forward, just rotating around that rib cage. Okay, and rest off there. So the first exercise in the main session is going to be performed in sitting. Now, when you get onto a gym ball for the first time, as we said, some of you may be confident in the use of one of these already, but if not, you want to try and make sure that your hip and your knee remain at a 90-degree angle when you're sitting, and you want to avoid at all times fixing the ball and the position of the ball with the back of your lower leg. So ensure that your feet are a little bit further forward, and that'll make your stomach muscles work a little bit harder. So the first exercise I'm going to ask you to engage in is a pelvic tilt. So place the front of your hands on the front of your hips onto the bony bits, okay? And I'm going to ask you to arch through that lower back and then tilt that pelvis. So you're tucking that tailbone underneath and then arching through that lower back. So we're going to do these exercises for 30 seconds and then rest for 10 seconds. And within that 10 seconds, I'm going to explain what the next exercise is. So begin with that pelvic tilting. You'll feel a little bit of movement in the ball, but it shouldn't be an excessive rock with that. It should be that the ball stays fairly still and the movement's happening through that hip and pelvic area. Keeping those feet still, so you shouldn't feel too much movement through the feet, but you might find them working a bit hard just to fix them in that position as well. The next exercise we're going to do in sitting is marching. So think about those principles we've just been talking about, but we're going to start to think about lifting one leg up at a time whilst you're on that gym ball. So there will be a little bit of movement in the ball, but again, try to avoid too much rocking, too much excess movement. Try not to slump down into the ball. Try to engage those tummy muscles as you're marching up and down with one leg at a time. If you're finding that quite easy and you feel like you could just do 30 seconds very comfortably, start to think about bringing some upper body work in. So as you raise one leg, raise the opposite arm. Okay, so a bit of speed with that. But if you start to lose control, just take it back to just the leg. But just try to avoid fixing on the ball, clinging on for dear life, okay? So the next position we're going to move into is onto your back, onto the mat, okay? And we're going to do an exercise called a bridge. So you may want to pop a towel or a pillow underneath your neck to make that feel a little bit more comfortable. You're going to straighten the knees out in front and pop the lower part of your legs and your heels resting onto the gym ball. You're going to need your hands for a little bit of support placed onto the mat just beside you. Keep those knees straight, and as you rest those heels and lower legs onto the ball, you're raising up with your bottom, up and down off the mat. So you should feel a little bit of work in your bottom muscles, known as your gluteals, and you should feel some work in those hamstrings and calves as you're lifting up into that exercise. Find that this is quite difficult, you can bring the ball a little bit closer to you, so it's resting more behind the knees or behind the thigh. And similarly, if you find that that's too easy, move the ball further away from you, so you have to work a little bit harder. The next exercise in this position is called the dead bug. So taking hold of the ball, you're going to rest it just gently onto the top of your knees, hips and knees at 90 degrees, shoulders up at 90 degrees of flexion. And to start with, just lower one arm down at a time. And if you find that that's really easy, not too strenuous, as you lower one arm, lower the opposite leg. So with this exercise, it's really important that you're not arching too much through that lower back. If you feel like your lower back is doing most of the work, stick with just the arm raising above the head before you think about bringing in the opposite leg. If you find that that's easy, you can hold it there, hover the hand and foot above the floor space, just to make those tummy muscles work a little bit harder. Final position on the ball is going over the front. So ensure that you're still within your mat space, okay? You're coming over the front of the ball, hands around shoulder width apart, little gap between your feet at the back. And again, like with dead bug, just start to raise one arm up in front. If you feel that that's really easy, you could do that all day long. As you raise one arm, think about the opposite leg. Keep that ball nice and controlled. Not too much movement. Tummy muscles should be working nice and hard at this point. Opposite arm and leg. And the final exercise in that same position, but starting a little bit further back, is to come over the front of the ball so that your hands are the only point of contact on the mat. Those hands should be just directly under your shoulder. Keep those legs straight, and you're going to engage in a bit of what's called a swim kick. So for 30 seconds, just quick kick action with those legs. It shouldn't be that the knees are bending like so. It should be that the legs are staying straight and the muscles in your bottom area and in the back of your thigh are working quite hard. Good, keep that going. And rest off there. And that concludes the main exercise session of the gym ball program. So the first exercise of the cool down, we're going to do these exercises in sitting. Again, thinking about the principles of where your pelvis wants to be and what position you're adapting onto the gym ball. Arch that pelvis just slightly, sitting up nice and tall, and we're just going to move through some simple neck movements. So looking up to the ceiling and looking down to the floor. You might hear a little bit of clicking, a little bit of crunching, totally normal. If you start to feel a little bit dizzy, a little bit lightheaded, either stop or just slow down the pace of that exercise just to stretch off that neck a little bit. And then going to look left and right with that neck. So again, might hear a little bit of clunking, a little bit of crunching, nothing to worry about, but just nice and slow and steady as you're rotating that head. Okay, so still sitting up tall, don't adopt that slump posture. We're thinking about some shoulder rolls, so just going back to front or front to back, it doesn't matter because we're going to switch. So whichever way you start, big shoulder rolls, lifting them up, drawing them back. Should feel those shoulder blades come together a little bit as you're going back over, and then change direction. So notice that my gym ball's not moving too much, you're not getting excess movement with it, you're keeping that control in that pelvis even at the cool down point of this exercise session. Okay, then we're going to bring those arms through to a full shoulder circle if you can. If you have shoulder problems and you struggle to get to that point, then just take it to a point that you're comfortable, even if it's just a lower part like so. And then you can change direction if you're feeling uncomfortable going a certain way. Lovely. And And then we're going to separate one leg out in front. It doesn't matter which one you do because we're going to do both. And slide that same hand on the same side of your body down that lower leg, and with the other hand stretch right across that body. So you feel a nice stretch down the side of the ribs, of the side you're stretching away from. You might feel a little bit of a stretch on that inner thigh, and maybe even a little bit in the hamstrings and the calf muscle down the back of that leg. Hold that for as long as you can. Keep the ball nice and still and feel that stretch. And change sides. So same idea, leg out nice and straight, slide that hand down the front of that leg and then stretch right across. So feeling the stretch on the side you're stretching away from, down the back of the leg and maybe a little bit on that inner thigh. Good. Then we're going to take it up into standing for just these final stretches. So just pop the gym ball to one side, place one leg out in front, pull the front of the toes up, keep the knee straight and stretch down towards those toes. It doesn't matter if you can't get as far as I can. You might just get to that point as long as you're feeling a stretch in the back of the leg. And change sides. So you might want to come up for a little bit of a stretch. Leg out in front, toes up, knee straight and stretch down. And final exercise for the calf muscles at the lower part of your leg. So step one foot out in front. It doesn't matter which one you do first, but it's the leg out behind that we're stretching. Okay, so keep this back leg knee straight, lunge forward and keep the heel down of the foot behind. So you should feel a stretch in this calf at this lower leg out behind. If you're near a wall space, you can hold onto a wall just to help you feel a bit more supported if you wish. But if you've got good enough standing balance, just doing that in standing. Just remember, you don't want to lift that heel off and soften that knee so it's bent. Keep that knee straight of the leg behind and then keep that heel firmly down, feeling that stretch in the calf. And then going into the final stretch for today, keeping those feet around shoulder width apart but not too wide. We're then going to take those arms all the way up in front so you feel a whole body stretch into extension. Okay, and then just leaning forwards, coming down through that lumbar spine, through that lower back is what we call that. And then if you can get to the floor, great. If you find that that's too much of a struggle, you can pop a little bend in the knees to get there and then come up back to just a normal standing position to finish. That concludes the exercise session using the gym ball. Today I'm going to go through an exercise session with you which is pitched at a more advanced level than the previous exercise sessions available within this course. It'll last around 15 to 17 minutes. You'll be comprising of a warm-up, a main session of around 7 to 8 exercises for 45 seconds of each exercise, and then a cool down at the end to stretch off after the exercise session. As always, it's recommended you've got a bit of water nearby, a drink that you can access, perhaps a towel. You'll notice that I'm outside today just for a little bit of a change of scenery to perform these exercises in, but you may want to do it in a house space, a garage space. You may want to do it at the gym by looking at the video for reference, or equally you might want to just come outside in the garden or down to a local park. So we're going to start with a little bit of a warm-up which will look at upper body and lower body. Purpose of that is to get the heart rate going a little bit. So thinking about the Borg scale that we referenced earlier on in this course, you want to look at working at level 1 to 2 within this part of the session. So we're going to start with just a little bit of a march on the spot, so nice and light on those feet, okay? Bring those arms in a little bit. Purpose of this is just to get going, okay? So not too quick, not too high in the speed or intensity just yet. You can do this for around 20 seconds. Okay, we're then going to take that out to a side step, okay, so one leg out to the side, so a little light bounce on those feet if you can, or if you prefer for it just to be a step at this point, that's fine. Okay, we're then going to take it into elbow to knee. So building in that upper and lower body work here. Nice and light on those feet. Okay, then separate those feet around shoulder width apart, pop your arms out in front, and we're going to rotate left and right. Okay, keeping the feet where they are, you're then going to stretch down to one side, come up into that extension and tap to the other side of the body. Okay, we're then going to take that into some quick kicks, okay, so feet around shoulder width apart, and we're kicking one leg up behind at a time. Nice and light on those feet. Okay, and then resting off with those feet, taking it into some hip work, okay, so lifting that knee up towards your chest, taking it out to the side. A bit of the stretch in the hip. Then I'm going to take it back to that march in, okay, so nice and light. And pick up that speed a little bit. We're going to go for 10 seconds at a quick sprint to finish off. And rest off there. So now moving into the main part of this advanced exercise session. So again, just plenty of space around you as I am here in the garden. For one of the exercises, I may get into a kneeling position. So you can see just behind me, I've got a garden sofa cushion just to kneel on if you want a little bit of support for some of the exercises. But I'll show you different ways you can do this if need be, okay? The first exercise we're going to do for 45 seconds is some squats. So just freestanding, we're going to have feet around shoulder width apart, arms wherever you're comfortable, whether it's in front, across your chest, by your side, and we're going to go into squats for 45 seconds, okay? So imagine you're sitting back onto those heels for this exercise, so you're not leaning forward, lifting your feet up, and just squatting down for a double leg squat in freestanding. To make this harder, you could add some weights, so you could think about a kettlebell if you've got it at hand, just to make it more of an advanced exercise, but I'm just using body weight. Okay, next exercise, we're going to go into press ups, okay? So this is where I was referencing this garden cushion. For me, I'm going to do a kneeling press up. You may be in a position where you can go for a full body weight press up, okay? So I'm just going to kneel onto the cushion, have my hands just rested on this plank of wood here, have my feet lifted off. Remember, you're not arching through that lower back with this, keeping those tummy muscles engaged. 45 seconds of press ups. Okay, moving into that next exercise, so just place that cushion out the way so it's not becoming a trip hazard for you. We're then going to go into some side squats. So you're going to step out to the side and squat down. Step out to the other side and squat down. Again, you might want to put some weights in your hand for this to make it a little bit harder. 45 seconds work. Okay, and then the next exercise we're going to do some shadow boxing. So nice and light on those feet, you can make it a little bit of a combined upper and lower body, punching forward. The next exercise is a step up. So again, I'm going to use this plank just as a reference point, stepping up and stepping down. Okay, next exercise, bicep curls. So you can add some weights to this, do one at a time, one arm at the left and right, or then double. Next exercise is going to be a jack, so a jumping jack or a star jump, okay? So just on the spot, 45 seconds. Final exercise, okay? Going back to that marching as the original, but taking it into a bit more of a jog and into a sprint, okay? Final one. Last little push, quick sprint. Last 5 seconds. And rest off. So we're now going into the cool down part of this advanced exercise session, comprising of various stretches for the upper and lower body to cool off and finish the session today. So the first exercise, we're going to start with the legs. We're going to go for a quadricep stretch. Quadriceps are the muscles at the front of your thigh. So starting, it doesn't matter which leg you're doing first, bringing one foot up behind. If you feel tired after the session and you need to hold on to something for a bit of support for this, absolutely fine. Just try to make sure you're not bending at the hip, so you're feeling the stretch at the front of the thigh muscle itself. Hold it for around 10 to 15 seconds. And change legs. I'm then going to go for a hamstring stretch. So this is the muscle in the back of your thigh. So one leg out in front, nice and straight. Pull the toes up on that foot and bend down to that one side. Feel that stretch in the back of the thigh. You might feel it a little bit in the calf as well. And then change legs. Then we're going to go for a calf stretch, okay, so up into standing. Again, doesn't matter whether you do left or right first, put the leg out behind as the one that you're stretching. Keep that heel down so you're not lifting up on those toes, and just lunge away from that back leg. And change legs. Then we're going to go for stretching your shoulders, so one arm straight across the body, bringing the elbow of the other arm in front, feeling the stretch around the back of that shoulder blade. And change arms. And then finally just a whole body stretch, so stretching down towards your toes, feel the stretch in the back of the lower back, into the hamstrings, into the calves, hold that for about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come up to finish off.
Today I would like to demonstrate a simple form of exercise, adapted Tai Chi. Tai Chi is a series of physical exercise and stretches and done in continuous movements without pause. Adapted Tai Chi is a mindful, relaxing exercise system and can benefit your health in many ways. It may improve your health and well-being and reduce levels of stress. And it is a great introduction to exercise if you've not exercised for a while or you've not exercised before. And first one, we're going to take the arm up, stretch it all the way to the top and down in a nice slow movement. And we're going to do this exercise 8 times in total. Just take it to a level that you feel comfortable with. Okay, the next one, we're going to take the arms forward to shoulder height and bringing the arms slowly down. Okay, the next exercise, we're going to support a ball. So you're going to bring one arm up and move it across the body and raise the leg. And as that leg comes down, bring the arm up on the other side and down. That's great. Now we're going to bring the hands together as if you're supporting a ball and just gently roll them around. Try and keep your ball the same size all the way. And the last one, we're going to bring the arms down the front and we're going to bring them forward and take them out to the side and back in and down and back up and again. And again, just do it to a level that you feel comfortable with. And one last time. And now we're just going to take the arms across and hold on to your stomach. And we're just going to close our eyes, just sit and relax and just listen to the music for a moment. Just thinking about the here and now. Okay, and when you're ready, just bring yourself back to the room and relax.
So I'd like to share with you another positive psychology exercise, and that involves things you can do to cultivate the emotion or the feeling of gratitude. So there are many things you may be grateful for, but like myself, sometimes you just take these things for granted. So this is an exercise you might do once or twice a week, but not every day, because then it can become a little bit mechanical. And just take the time to sit down and think about some of the things that you're appreciative of in your life, some of the things you're grateful for, and then maybe write them down. It's not just though about writing them down, it's actually about thinking about and experiencing the emotion of gratitude. So I do this myself periodically, so I'd encourage you to download the worksheet, spend a bit of time once or twice a week thinking about the things that you're grateful for. So I hope you found those bits of content and videos helpful, and once again please download the guidance or tip sheet and think about how you can apply some of those exercises and techniques we've shared with you, put them into your week to continue on your journey towards getting into better shape in this prehabilitation program. Thank you.